Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today's random review is from 2015, and it's a Duel tale, directed by Shigemichi Sugita, and starring the awesome Tatsuya Nakadai. Nakadai was 83 when he made this film. He made another film 4 years later with Sugita, The Return, in 2019. I haven't seen that one. This is a wonderful little film about a subject that hasn't really been talked about too much in films that I've seen before, about period Japan, and that's about the Hayazumi, which is kind of the samurai families and the sons that aren't the eldest son. So they're kind of forced to marry into other families, not allowed to have children. They're kind of seen as freeloaders. So Nakadai plays a character called Sanazuki Soji, and he is one of these guys. So he's a great uncle to this girl, whose kind of parents resent him for hanging about and eating their food. And she has had the offer of an arranged marriage, which she doesn't want, but it is into a better samurai family, a richer samurai family. But she's in love with a local farmer's son, and she kind of used Nakadai, even though he is her great uncle, it's more like a grandfather. She's the only one that really respects him and cares about him. And he is haunted by his past, because as a Hayazumi, he wasn't allowed to have children, and the somewhat desperate measures not to have children. And then he also did have an arranged marriage, but that had kind of a tragic outcome as well, and he is seeing history repeat itself with his grandniece, and he doesn't want that to happen. He was involved in a duel when he was younger around this situation, which he strangely enough won, and killed his opponent, but he was injured, so his left side isn't in great nick, so he limps around, and he gets money by giving Go lessons, Go, which is a traditional Japanese board game. And again, the members of his family, apart from his grandniece, kind of resent him being around, but we discover in flashbacks his story regarding the women in his life in the past, why one of them is just buried under a rock because she's not allowed to be in the family graveyard, and then there's another woman who has this really expensive headstone, essentially, or grave, that he doesn't want to really talk about too much, but we learn about that in flashback. And then, of course, things come to a head, and he's forced to get his sword out, one last time. I mean, Nakadai, not surprisingly, carries the film. It doesn't necessarily get his wolf out, if you know what I mean, but he certainly has moments of steely determination, but he has that wonderful Nakadai smile, and those great eyes, but obviously as things get serious, he can kind of predict through his past experiences how things are going to end up. The film itself does look like it was kind of shot in digital. It kind of has that kind of digital look, which isn't necessarily the best look. There is some lovely scenery. It's relatively low budget. There's not a lot of characters. It's just in a small village, but it does take advantage of, there's a kind of flat land next to the river, where a couple of the duels take place, that harkens back to Sanshiro Sugata and Harakiri and things like that. And of course you can't help but think of Nakadai all the times he's picked up a sword in his career. So when he gets his sword out at the end out of his cupboard and wipes it off and sharpens it, you can't help but think of all those wonderful films that Nakadai was in. The film does suffer sometimes. The score is a little bit predictable and kind of manipulative at times. Other times it's fine and more kind of traditional period Japanese music. Unfortunately, there is a couple of flashbacks to earlier moments in the film, which is always something that I don't really enjoy that much, because we've watched the film, we kind of know what happened. The flashbacks themselves are absolutely fine. Obviously it's a different actor playing 30-year-old Nakadai compared to 83-year-old Nakadai, which is strange enough. They haven't used de-aging technology. But there's a definite sense of a man haunted by his past, and it has echoes of that kind of three colours red thing of the past is repeating itself. And obviously Nakadai can see that and doesn't want that to happen to his great niece. There is, again, not a lot of action, but when it comes it's handled very well and is realistic. Nakadai doesn't go full Sword of Doom at 83 years old and kill 100 samurai. So it's a very realistic film, because obviously he does have trouble on his left side. But it does end quite wonderfully. It's just full of dignity and class, as you'd expect from Nakadai. It does have some nice humour and wonderful moments as we kind of understand the reasoning behind some of Nakadai's characters' decisions and his actions, because again he can use his experience to realise what's going to happen in the next steps of characters' behaviour, because it's just repeating history, unfortunately, because again we never seem to learn from history and from our mistakes. Again, this is a kind of unofficial DVD, and again the print is pretty good, but as I said, it's kind of got that digital look to it. I mean, it is 2015, but if you want to see an 83-year-old Nakadai still knocking out the park, then I would highly recommend A Duel tale, despite its small flaws, it's well worth seeing if you're an Nakadai fan. It's 94 minutes, it absolutely flies by. Obviously, Nakadai is absolutely magnetic, and you don't take your eyes off him when he's not on screen. You don't take your eyes off him when he's not on screen. You don't take your eyes off him when he's on screen. When he's off screen, you're still using your eyes, and you're thinking about Nakadai's eyes. So there's eyes everywhere. It's well worth checking out. I think it has been on Mubi, or is on Mubi, I'm not actually sure. But unfortunately, it's not really on official Blu-ray and anything like that, and it really should be. Perhaps it is in Japan, you can let me know if you know. So thanks very much for watching this random review of A Duel Tale. There's a pun in there somewhere about the two stories. Please let me know if you've seen it, what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.